Hello, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Thomas, and I discuss my near-death experience, the things that I learned, and the things that I think you should know. So today I'm going to be talking about the difference between a near-death experience and a psychedelic experience. So I prayed to Archangel Gabriel for inspiration on today's YouTube. And she responded by letting me know that I should discuss the differences between near-death experiences and psychedelic experiences. I've seen, just on a personal note, I've seen people with their awakening channels talking about DMT experiences, and it seems like they're not that profound for them. Or they're not that lasting because they go back time and time again. So first, I would like to state that when I talk about psychedelic experiences, I am talking about the use of psychedelics being used spiritually, and not recreational use. And I'm talking about cannabis, psilocybin mushrooms, ayahuasca, DMT, peyote, etc. So the whole class of psychedelics. So when I talk about near-death experiences, I mean the stage 4 full-blown near-death experience where angels show up and take you on a journey to heaven, as this is the type I had and really the only type that I can talk about. I'm not talking about out-of-body experiences or minimal near-death experiences, although I have experience with out-of-body experiences. I am familiar with both near-death experiences and the spiritual use of psychedelics, and I grow my own psilocybin mushrooms for this purpose and for their medical benefits. So let's get into it. So the first difference between a near-death experience and a psychedelic experience is that an NDE is brought about by some trauma and is an intervention of the divine realm and cannot be induced at will. In studies of near-death experiences, patients that experience cardiac death during open heart surgery, only about 1% or 10 in 1,000 patients surveyed experience some type of near-death experience. So even if there is some sort of death, either of body or ego, a near-death experience is not guaranteed. Psychedelics always produce some sort of vision when taken spiritually and being dose-dependent, while a near-death experience, especially of the stage 4 type that I had, are incredibly rare among the population. Stage 1 through 3 near-death experiences are more common but still rare in the general population. Perhaps the biggest difference is that near-death experiences, especially of the type that I had, are profoundly transformative, and the effects are long-lasting. History has been profoundly impacted by near-death experience survivors. So just look at near-death experience survivor Carl Jung and the impact he had on the field of psychology. His experience wasn't even of the stage 4 experience like mine, but more like a stage 2 or 3, but it had a lasting impact on him and his chosen field of study. So psychedelics can be transformative, especially when used spiritually and under the supervision of a shaman. But rarely have a lasting impact. This is why you will see people going back to do ayahuasca ceremonies time and time again. This is because they crave that spiritual enlightenment, but rarely is it as transformative or has the lasting effect on their lives that they so desire. One near-death experience can change a person's life and have a significant impact upon the survivor. This brings up my next point. Near-death experiences can often trigger suicidal tendencies or risk-taking behaviors, as survivors often wonder why they came back and crave that feeling of peace and connectedness as well as God's love. It is often the burden of the survivor to stay the course and make sense and meaning of their experience. So another big difference is that near-death experiences, again of the type that I had, are more real than real. This description is rarely, if ever, attributed to psychedelics. I believe this is because during a near-death experience, you actually leave your body and cross over to the other side. And the other side is more real than real because it is where true life happens. This life is more like a dream. With psychedelics, you may experience ego death, but your body doesn't actually die, so you remain in your body and you don't really cross over, although it may feel like that. If you did, it would be a near-death experience and not a psychedelic experience at all. This brings up an obvious point. Near-death experiences are something that you survive, and you are often given the choice to do so. When you cross over, it is so beautiful and God's love so powerful that most people want to stay and don't come back to this plane of existence. They die. So the visions you see in a near-death experience are different in that they follow a clear pattern among survivors. Psychedelic experiences can vary widely depending on the person using them, but the near-death experiences are eerily similar in their description from survivors. I don't mean to down-talk the impact a psychedelic experience can have, because when used spiritually, they can be profound and transformative, but they often lack the lasting effect a near-death experience provides. So one similarity between psychedelics and NDEs, especially with psilocybin, at least in my experience, is that you are able to meet Jesus with both. The difference being that because you are in an altered state when using psychedelics, you seldom remember all of your experience or your time with Jesus. Depending on the cause of an NDE, because NDEs are more real than real, they are easily remembered. This is partly what makes them so transformative. So I could go on all day about differences between NDEs and psychedelic experiences, but I'll stop here. I'd just like to say that since my near-death experience, my experiences with psilocybin have been more transformative and impactful spiritually than prior to my NDE. I believe this is because of what I learned during my NDE. I now know at a deep level that the afterlife is where true life exists, and because I have met with Jesus in a setting that was more real than real. My time with psychedelics since my NDE has only added to the understanding that I gained during my NDE. Lastly, I'd like to say that psychedelics are a wonderful and powerful spiritual tool and can have a profound impact upon the user. I wish everyone would take the time to sit with psychedelics and seek spiritual enlightenment by using them with the realization that they're just that, a tool. And it takes a lot of inner work, this applies to any NDEs, to make sense of what you see during your experience. I ask that if you choose to utilize psychedelics, you do so with a great respect and with the intention of gaining spiritual wisdom and clarity. Thank you for supporting my channel, for the likes and comments. They keep me going, as it is a daily struggle to overcome my health challenges, to bring you informative comment that I would like you to know. So thanks for watching. May you have a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Much peace and love. Namaste.